Pleasant morning, morning.
Pleasant din. Sabay tayo.
Hello to you all.
Maligayang bati sa inyong lahat.
Kamusta kayong lahat?
Okay.
Okay, it's another Saturday of discussion on a very wonderful topic. Ganda-ganda ng topic natin ngayon. Real peace. Oo.
Miguel, good morning.
Yan, si
Yeah.
Miguel,
And also
kaibigan.
kay Gemini Rose.
Gemini
Blessed
Rose,
Saturday to
blessed.
all. Looking forward to an awesome lecture. Thank you, Gemini Rose.
And Kalindi Relova, good morning.
Yeah,
Thank
you know,
We need peace.
Kasi sa news naman na madalas ngayon yung sa Afghanistan at saka yung pag napapanood mo kung ano nangyari. Siyempre, nakaka-trouble din kasi yung in terms of peace no in the world, parang nakakalungkot
And just
mapanood.
yesterday, in the one of the most peaceful places in the world, sa New Zealand, biglang merong terrorist sa kanilang grocery.
Nag-attack ng mga shoppers sa isang supermarket.
Terrorist talaga.
been there for a while pa. You know, so it's really hard to track, and because the country is so it's a peaceful country. You know, kaya sa kanila pag may ganung uring nangyayari, immediately headlines.
Oo.
You know, it's like it's shocking for them that such thing happens in their society.
They're not as jaded as us ba?
Yeah. you
Tayo
know.
lahat na lang
Tsaka kung
nangyayari
isipin mo,
dito.
ikaw yung nag-grocery ka lang, biglang may saksak sa'yo, you know.
Nagsisigaw
Parang
daw doon.
out of the blue, biglang meron tayong mga troubled.
Especially for them, because yun nga, people in such countries
They're so chill.
are not as guarded, you know, chill and the
Yeah.
word, you know, it's not, you think that pag gising mo sa umaga, bright sun, sunset, yung gano'n na buhay ba, you know, it's all
Surrounded by nature.
nature, and kasi alam niyo, the environment plays a role in the condition of the minds of the society itself for every individual. Many times you don't realize a lot of the troubles or the struggles we face. You know, that's why we try to find means and ways to make things a bit more relaxing ba? You know, but yet we find ourselves faced with many issues on a daily basis. A country like ours, population is quite big, the space is quite small, with limited resources now. So the struggle for our day-to-day existence is very much felt by a lot of the members of our society. You
Di ba
know,
when we talk about peace, ang naiisip natin, yung magandang natural surroundings. No, like last week, we had a guest who came and dapat 1 or 2 days lang yata siya napahaba. Kasi sabi niya, I'm enjoying the peace kasi nandito sa in natural surroundings. No, the surroundings, our environment really helps us feel some semblance of peace in our lives.
Very helpful. And when you are in a very chaotic place na maingay, parang ang hirap humanap ng katahimikan, hindi ba?
Although it's very possible,
Oo.
merong
Yes.
paraan dyan.
may paraan sa ganon. Pero pag-usapan natin kasi sa society natin, nakikita natin, even in the world scale, para na ma-prevent ulit na hindi maulit yung World War. Di ba? Kaya man nagkaroon ng League of Nations na nag-umpisa, tapos naging United Nations.
Yes.
To resolve things diplomatically and to discuss matters before it goes out of hand.
Yes.
But yet we see pockets of conflicts taking
Even
place
right
throughout the
here in our
world.
country,
Yeah,
no?
even sa atin nga, ang tagal na ng insurgencies natin, hindi matapos-tapos. Issues, social issues Issues that people feel that they're being left out. And then one has to understand, by nature tayo, hindi ba we discussed this in the past, if we care and serve, it's a natural thing for us to do. We become so happy performing such actions. No? But yet, at the same time, there are those naman who don't have that sort of mindset. Instead of care and, serve, I am the dominator. Ako ang may-ari, ako ang
I'm the
magle-lake claim,
controller.
ako ang magkocontrol. So,
Master.
Ako dapat masunod.
di ba? Maraming ganyan din eh. Kaya kadalasan, kahit sa mga ordinaryong bahay,
Yeah.
di ba, yung mga batang-bata pa lang eh, diktator na.
Oo nga, meron
Maglulupasay
ganun.
na dyan.
Oo, kung hindi makuha yung gusto.
Sisigaw,
Oo.
sisigaw.
Si batang-bata pa lang, di ba may ganyan?
Pero meron matanda na rin, ganun pa rin.
Hindi,
Hindi na
yan.
ko yung gusto.
Pero nakita ko may mga bata, sinasagot yung magulang. Minsan minumura pa yung magulang.
Hindi, yun nga. Kaya nga,
siguro yun ang nakikita nila sa
ang
paligid.
punto nga,
Nagaya
ang
sila.
punto nga, dito sa mundo natin nga, kung may ganun eh, pag ang isang tao ay pinanganak sa mundo na to, habang siya kahit na bata pa,
Mm-mm.
marunong na mag-demand.
Oo.
Kasi
I
kumbaga,
want.
nagkiklaim siya eh.
Oo.
O kinukuha niya yung attention ng nanay at tatay eh, hindi ba? Yung mga nanay naman, kadalasan, sige, para matahimik ka na lang. Bumibigay kasi, ay, cute, pero yung mga bata naman, ginagamit din nila yung kanilang
Oo, marunong mag-manipulate.
Before you know it, di na siya cute.
tapos, hindi ba, lalaki sila ng gano'n na always
Oo.
demanding this, demanding that. Kung hindi nila magustong makuha ang gusto nila, kadalasan they will, kung hindi maglulupasay, iiyak. Ngayon, pag teenager na, hindi na nila
Dabog-dabog.
gagawin yun.
Oo.
Di ba na yung style nila?
Iba na yung style.
Oo.
May
Layas.
galit,
Lalayas.
nagalit na sila or magre-rebelde sila.
Oh, yun.
Di ba? And then, ang tanaw natin, kadalasan, nakala natin, it's part of their rites of passage na nagiging mature yung isang tao.
They want to be independent.
Yes, pero yung independence naman, yung choice of independence, ano yan eh? Tanawin nyo ng husto, ano yan eh? Ano ba yung independence? Di ba? Palagi tayo nagse-celebrate Independence Day. Di ba?
May watawat.
Oo, di ba? May mga ganyan. Pero meron din, alam mo, pag sinabi kasing independence, ano yan eh? There's a fine line.
Mm-mm.
Kasi, on the one hand, all of the things we need to have in the world, we are dependent.
Oo, binigay sa atin. Pinapagamit sa atin.
Oo, di ba?
Mm-mm.
Yan eh. Para ka lang, tara lang tayo makaupo rito, hindi ba? Kailangan.
Makahinga.
O makahinga, o kaya kumain. Kumain ka para may lakas ka.
Mm-mm.
Tapos para, gumagana yung life-sustaining
Your
systems mo.
faculties. Oo.
So, hangin, init ng araw, sinag ng, alam mo, kompleto yan eh. And in nature, lahat ng sangkap para maging malusog ang ating katawan at ang ating isipan. Nasa natural na systems yan eh. Ngayon, so we are dependent on it.
Mm-mm.
And when you talk about independence, and parang it's when you start to make your own choices. Tama? Correct? Di ba ganyan yan eh?
Yeah, ayaw ng pinagsasabihan.
Ayaw pagsasabihan.
Oo.
Ayaw niyang kung anong gusto niya, yun ang gusto niya. Di ba? Pero at the same time, yung dependency mo, hindi nawawala. Di ba? Pag ikaw isang teenager, nagkaroon ka ng problema, saan ka pupunta?
Magulang.
Uwi
Uwi ka kagad.
Balik sa bahay.
Tapos, hihingi ka lang ng direksyon papunta sa isang lugar na hindi mo alam eh. You have to depend on somebody else. Constantly on a daily
When you're
basis,
lost.
dependency is there all the time. Kung gusto mong kumain, you have to. And you don't grow your food. You gotta get it elsewhere. You're dependent on such supplies.
Yeah.
So that there is you should find the right balance for this. Because by nature, kasi, when you start to think of your own independence, that's where your struggle begins. See, for example,
Kasi natural na
for me,
dependent tayo,
for a
no?
person to be able to live his life, there are many factors, peacefully, there are many conditions, there are many people contributing to it. You're dependent on the peace and order groups. You're dependent on your government. You're dependent on
doctors
doctors.
who take care of
You're
us.
dependent on your neighbors. Ang daming dependency. So when you talk about independence, this is where your struggle begins. But and then kadalasan kasi, it's the choice you make. Kasi gusto mo, I want to have a freedom of choice. That this is what I'm going to do. Di ba, in America recently, I think 2 days ago, in Texas, it has to do with the abortion law.
Ako. Nagkagulo na naman.
Nagkagulo sila doon kasi ginawa lang strict, no,
Banned na yung
banned na yung abortion sa state na to. Ano yan, ang laki ng state na yan, at saka Texas yan Very influential yung niyan kasi conservative yun So, nakalabog lahat sila ngayon sa Kongreso kasi Democratic yung nakaupo Yun yung presidente. Liberal yung mga yan you know. So biglang, wow. No, this has to stop. Respect of life. You know, you cannot make a decision as far as, what you as a parent or a mom, di ba, carrying a child. Anyway, that's another subject matter. But ang punto, nakikita nyo, sa lahat ng bagay ng buhay natin sa mundo na to, there is dependency from others. At the same time, we cannot be saying, I want to be independent. Because when you deal with independencies, the danger is, or the struggle would be, you will go up against so many factors.
It's against our nature, right?
Yeah, it's against our nature,
We're really
And
naturally
it also
dependent.
results in conflict.
Exactly.
Yes,
And then,
kaya
of
nga.
course, loss of peace.
Yes,
No?
exactly.
Pag nagko-conflict tayo masyado dahil nag-assert tayo ng independence kahit hindi naman nasa lugar, then we experience the conflict and the loss of peacefulness in our environment and society.
You know, when you're struggling, many times, di ba? When you hear people who struggles or there's some issues, there's also what you call loss of sleep.
Ay, meron
Hindi ka
yan.
makakatulog, wala kang peace of mind.
Sabi nung merong proverb sa Chadian proverb, a man with too much ambition cannot sleep in peace.
Ayun nga, wala
Tignan
kang
mo, hindi
peace.
makakatulog.
Oo.
Pag marami kang struggle for independence and ambition,
Marami kang
Oo,
gusto.
kulang ka na sa tulog, yun ang mawawala sa'yo.
May
Kaya-
nagsabi din si Larry Eisenberg, no? A smart guy. He said, for peace of mind, we have to resign as the general manager of the universe.
Ay, ang ganda.
Kasi kala natin tayo yung
Kasi
in charge, you know?
pag independence
General
kasi,
Manager, universe,
An-
task
an-
position na yun.
Ganun kasi feeling ng mga tao They wanna be in control.
Malaking
you know?
sinakop na jurisdiction yan.
Oo.
kasi pag sinabing,
Entire universe,
pag sinabing
hindi tayo
independence,
yung boss.
gusto mo, you get free to make the decision so you can be the controller.
Yun
Controller.
na, gusto mo
Right.
ng gusto mo.
Kaya nga just as a child, may ganun ang bata
Oh, pero pag universe ang gusto mong kontrolin, medyo malawak yun
Oo.
Siyempre.
Pati na, kaya mo ba yung mga
Feeling big na yung
hurricane
tao
at saka mga drought
di ba?
dyan?
Exactly.
So then,
See, people wanna be that way.
May
this
tendency.
envy.
Oh,
yeah,
lumalabas
there's
this
yung
always a
envy
tendency to be that
of
way.
being the
Oo.
boss.
Oo.
The one whose will is done.
Oo.
Eh,
Yan.
At pag hindi mo na kung yung gusto mo, ayun, galit na, gera na.
Oo.
yeah,
Away
conflict,
na.
struggle,
No more
even
peace.
amongst family members.
Oo.
It's
Exactly.
so common, you
Sino
know.
ba masusunod dito? Kahit nga lang pagpanood ng TV, lipat channel kasi kung sino masusunod
Kaya
Saan
nga,
ba
kanya-kanya na sila ng
mapunta
TV,
TV.
minsan, o
Oo.
kanya-kanyang phone. Doon na ako manonood.
Oo, okay.
Kanya-kanya.
I'm exerting my freedom of choice.
Yes.
Diba? Kasi it's also natural for us to want to be free,
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
right?
But our
Kaya,
freedom is limited, though.
yeah.
And sometimes freedom is also sabihin mo freedom of choice. You choose to be under something or under someone. Like if you want to be an employee, you agree. That's your free will, but you agree to follow the boss.
Yes.
You know.
There's
But only
rules
as
of,
far as work is concerned, ha?
baga may rules of
Sometimes kasi
engagement.
mga boss, kala mo, they own na their employees,
Sabi nga nung isang proverb, sabi niya, the price that the clothes that the wife buys is the price that the husband pays for peace. Okay, para nung ba suporta ng peace in bigay na lang kung ano yung bibilhin ng misis, no. So it's a given you work out your situation with people para hindi magka-conflict lagi.
Yeah.
Diba?
You have to find a balance. And also, that's why we're dealing from the time you're a child until you become a teenager, until you're an adult. There's always that fine line that you have to tread.
Depends on how
Kumbaga na.
your consciousness was formed
Right.
as you were growing up.
So that you can understand that you have your limitation
Oo.
and that you are not the owner and controller
Yes.
many times. Okay?
So, ito dumadami yung bumabati sa atin. Again, si Miguel, sabi niya, from the coastal cleaners of the Lumpinas.
Miguel, good
Ay,
job,
thank you,
Miguel.
thank
Good
you.
job.
We need
Thank you for
your
your
work
work and
talaga.
sacrifice and everybody else who's there.
Yes.
You know,
Lalo na ngayon, maraming pinapasok na
From the
basura.
ocean.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you for your tirelessness.
turtle season is soon, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Thomas from Angeles City says, good morning, Madre Resurrection. Angel Gonzalo, Ananda Teves Ngo from Zambales. And Vina Pasco is greeting us, as well as Dixie Palmos and Lakbay Gulay. And, si Muriel Go. Napaka
Rikit ng
Rikit ng
umaga
umaga,
sa
man.
Palakas.
Oh, wow, ganda.
Depending on you for our weekly dose of wisdom.
Yes.
Thank you.
Cesar Canonizado, Californian. No?
Yes.
Okay, good morning.
Yes. Good morning sa inyong lahat. And meron naman sinasabi ang mga tiga Myanmar, kahit magulo doon ngayon, sinasabi lang, where there is love, there is peace. Kasi nag-umpisa yan sa love. Ang peace ay anak lang yan ng love.
Side effect.
Side
Side
effect.
effect.
O, kailangan
Right.
nangunguna yung pagmamahal. Okay? At sinabi ng mga Arabo, may Arabian proverb, better to have bread with peace than stuffed chicken with strife. Okay? Kaya daw, mas maigi na yung simple lang ang buhay,
Yes.
hindi ba? Peaceful naman. Kaysa kain ka nga ng marangya, pero pinag-awayan lahat ng resources,
Kanina
no?
ako sa neighbor. Away.
Pag-gera, pati yung chicken nag-suffer dun sa gerang yan, no?
Di ba, naging ugali na sa ating society. There are societies, there are places in the world, in a community, walang mga bakod.
Oo.
Oh, yes.
Di ba? There's no boundaries. Kasi it is the boundaries where conflicts take place. Even throughout the world, in huge scales. Wherever there's a boundary amongst countries, there's always a possibility of strife.
Ngayon, lagayan na sila ng mga boundaries.
nagbabakod sila.
Ayaw nila yung
Division.
refuge
Partitions.
pumasok sa kanila eh.
Yeah, there's so many of this, you know. Kaya even in a smaller scale, in our neighborhood, in our communities, we tend to create those barriers and differences amongst each other. So when it's a sign of our own fear, yeah, fear, and then definitely we are also
Kasi we are trying to own and control
right.
what we think we own.
Right.
Oo.
So you find that the struggle is always there. You know, in the ancient practices of the indigenous people, they live in clustered villages, communities, no? And there are barriers. Kumbaga yung borders nila is the forest.
And the forest they share, di ba?
And the forest they do share to everybody. And that there's always enough for everybody. They live among, kumbaga may value na ganon sa kanila amongst them. To the point that, let's say the culture like in Hawaii, for example, the Hawaiians in their old practice, every child that's born, they plant 10 coconut trees. Tapos they have a common shared community forest. Kaya nga, ang Pilipinas
They call
nung
it their
araw,
Aloha Gardens.
Yes.
Oo.
yung community forest sa indigenous people, nandiyan talaga hanggang ngayon, may ganun eh. Pero yun nga, siyempre, there's a lot of people who have vested interest because of the resources that are there. That's why, because the most indigenous people are peace-loving eh. Ayaw nila ng conflict eh. Ayaw nila ng gulo. But yet, there are also those who are very much warrior tribes. May mga ganun sila to protect what they have. But at the same time, you will find the rules of engagement in their community is always very much, it's not just for myself, but it's for everybody.
Yun,
Sharing.
oo.
Yeah. Then
Sharing.
the elderlies will always be there. Yung mga elders nila, may council of elders. Eh.
Yeah.
They meet if there are issues.
Yun ang judicial and legislative function.
Ayun yung ang tawag nila sa Igorot, bodong. Yeah.
Yes.
So they have that dapay, they call it. There's
That's where they talk.
it's like a central place.
Yes.
Ano yan? Rock, ano nga yun eh? Parang rock garden yun eh. Doon sila nag-uusap. May pagkain doon, may whatever during the
Natural,
meeting.
no?
So, they resolve things peacefully.
Oo.
They talk, oh, may ganito. O kaya, in the same setting, iniintindi nila that my neighbors, real relation na, neighbors are there because we depend on one another.
Yes.
May ganun silang relationship.
Parang
And that's-
yung sinabi ni Mother Teresa, sabi niya, if there's no peace, it's because we've forgotten that we belong to each other. We're actually family.
Yes.
That is the bond that keeps
Yes,
everybody
oo.
peaceful.
Yeah.
Di
Para
ba?
walang
It's a common
away.
ground.
Meron din naman ng Indian proverb, sinabi na, a harvest of peace grows from seeds of contentment. So, pag, syempre, contented naman na walang away, meron tayong harvest, or whatever meron yung community, we share it with each other. Therefore, peaceful din ang ating existence. Hindi ba? Dahil, ano lang, hindi masyadong ambitious. Walang,
Pero yan ang kulang ngayon, contentment.
Contentment.
Parang wala nang contentment ng tao ngayon. Ano? They want more lagi. Oo.
Kaya nga meron din dito, sinabi, make peace with people. Sabi niya, wage war with your sins.
Yan.
Russian nagsabi nun, ng mga Russian proverbs. Kung ang sa tao, makipagbagay ka, muhay ka ng peaceful, pero sa sarili mo mga kasalanan yun, awayin mo. Awayin mo yung mga kasalanan mo, tanggalin mo yan, patayin mo yung mga kasalanan, hindi ba? You wipe out mo yan. So very naman that when it comes to peace, sinasabi rin dito, 1 minute of patience, 10 years of peace. Kumbaga yung patience, may kasama rin to sa sa resolution ng conflict, yung patience.
Siguro kung nag-intay ka lang konti, a little bit patience, nasave na tayo sa gera.
Oo nga, oo. Meron nga nag-text nung sa isang Viber group, nag-text yung kamag-anak na may COVID. Tapos nag-text siya doon sa kamag-anak, sabi niya, gusto ko na magpakamatay. Sabi niya, nasa ospital nagsasuffer siya sa COVID, gusto ko na magpakamatay. Tapos after a few seconds, sabi niya, okay na ako, kumain na ako ng lunch. Sabi niya gano'n, sana fight uli ako. Gano'n. So nagbago yung kanyang mindset. Dumaan lang yung saglit na yon na naisip niya magpapakamatay na siya. Kumbaga, lumipas lang yon. Di iba na yung kanyang mindset.
Kasi eating is an external activity that can affect your mood. Pag kumain kayo, may nare-release na hormone that will help change your mood.
May contentment. Pag kain ka na, may contentment.
Kaya nga huwag kayo magmi-meeting pag
Huwag
gutom
niyong
lahat.
gugutumin, ha? Tsaka wag daw magmi-meeting pag Friday kasi pagod na rin. Mainit na yung ulo.
Kaya when we want to establish peace in the community, dapat patient din tayo sa isa't isa.
Alam mo, that's why, as people, we have the power of reasoning. And that even as you raise a child who has this controlling tendency, you have to show and teach the child that such attitude will get you in trouble.
Or get you nowhere.
Or
di
get
ba?
you nowhere, or you'll be miserable.
Oo.
That's where reasoning comes in.
Yes.
And it has to be coming from, the elders or parents. They have to be they're also given the gift of being patient, being loving,
And
tolerant. So all these qualities come to play. Just so that this is what we are embracing and we imbibe. So when you raise your child, or it's the same relationship that you will have with your child, don't be self-limiting with that. Don't just be thinking it's just for me in the family, me and my family. No, it has to be shared to everybody. Just so such attitudes, such relationship prospers, and so it brings out the goodness of everyone. So when because it's something that life is a work in progress.
Yeah.
It's a continuous process. We cannot just be saying, "Oh yeah, I think I found my peace in such situation." But things can change so quickly.
Oo.
Your dynamics begin to change, but yet is a means to stay steady. Alam niyo, katulad ng bagyo, hindi ba? Napakalakas ng bagyo. Pag
Ang
nakita
gulo.
niya, pero may mata sa gitna.
Yeah.
Yung mata na yon, walang hangin
Calm
dun.
center.
Kalmado.
Tahimik.
Tahimik. Di ba? Minsan dumadaan sa atin yun. Lakas-lakas ng hangin, biglang, dumaan yung eye of the storm. Dumaan. Mahimik. Tapos after a few minutes or an hour, ito na naman yung
Pag hindi
bagyo.
mo alam, akala na tapos na.
Oo.
You know, pero hindi pala. Padating pa yung kalahati ng
Right.
bagyo. At minsan yung hagupit, sabi nila, hagupit ng buntot ng bagyo, meron din yun.
yeah.
Di ba?
So nakikita nyo, yun ang isang ehemplo na ang buhay ng tao. Basta meron kang, kumbaga, malalim na paninindigan at sa buhay mo. Kumbaga, malinis ang kalooban ng isang tao.
Yes,
Kahit
the
na maraming
peace is in the
bagyong
center.
dumadating sa iyo.
No?
Yeah.
That's the
The
real
have the
peace.
center.
That's the real peace. That
Yeah.
amidst all the gulo, you can stay focused and calm. We don't always, when we talk about peace, it's not always about walang gera or walang away, but our ability to stay focused and calm in the midst of all of that.
And
That's
even,
what peace
alam mo,
is.
peaceful individuals, even if they're, kasi constantly peaceful siya, no? Wala siyang struggle sa maraming bagay. Yung ganong uring pananaw o buhay. Again, it's a continuous process. It's a work on progress. And yung kanyang way of life, napipick up ng marami yan eh.
Oo.
It's sharing it eh.
Yeah.
Because you become the model. Ano ba ang formula nito? Kahit no matter what, hindi siya nasisinag, hindi siya nagpapanik, steady at kalmado palagi.
Oh, here we have something shared by Dixie Pamos. Ito, meron tayong advice, no? She's sharing a quote from Saint Francis of Assisi. He said, "Where there is patience and humility, there is neither anger nor vexation. Where there is poverty and joy, there is neither greed nor avarice. Where there is peace and meditation, there is neither anxiety nor doubt." Very steadfast.
So there you go.
Very
Meron
spiritual
kang
kasi yan
peace.
si Saint Francis of
Siyempre,
Assisi.
kaya nga saint eh.
Diba? Kaya ang ganda ng sinasabi niya.
Exactly.
So alam
That's
niya
a
yung formula for peace.
Kumbaga, may model. Ito, this
very
works.
nice model.
Diba?
Yeah, and basically, yung we have to include our shelter from all the anxiety and all the greed and everything. Ang shelter natin, yung Panginoon. Kaya ito yung pinakasentro ng ating buhay. Kaya naman talaga, magiging peaceful tayo.
And that's what I'm saying. It's a continuous work in progress. And that you are, because it involves you and everybody else, the very society you live in. And we are governed by, kasi this is sometimes the difficulty of trying to be independent. That means information, wisdom, you tend to, especially on the extreme, parang ayaw mo marinig yung ganon, gusto mo lang yung gusto mo.
Parang akala mo, alam mo na.
Yes, I know.
Oo. Don't tell me, I know. Ganyan.
Di ba?
Hindi niyo sinasabi
Hindi
natin,
tuloy matututo.
ang gusto niya maging sentro, yung sarili niya, hindi ba yung pinag-usapan
Exactly.
natin, siya yung general manager ng universe.
Yes.
Oh.
Akala
Hindi
niya
ba?
siya na yun.
He knows.
Illusion.
Hindi ba? Oo.
Ako,
Kaya,
ito nga, may isang kaibigan ako, no? Kasi ano sila mga influential dito sa aming probinsya. Siyempre, magfa-file na lahat sila ng kanilang candidacy eh.
oo.
Even amongst them, may ano rin sila, yung their own struggles. And, alam nyo, maging mahinahon na lang tayo sa maraming bagay. Kung service yung ating gustong gawin, tanawin natin ang sarili na yun ang talagang objective natin.
Oo.
And pag ginanyan mo ang sa puso mo at ang iyong tanaw, immediately, you will see the goodness and the opportunity that you have. One of the reasons why we struggle a whole lot, kasi hindi natin ma-appreciate na maraming oportunidad na pumapasok sa ating buhay.
Yes.
Yes.
Ngayon, kapag tinatanaw lang natin ang sarili natin, kadalasan, you miss out on those opportunities.
Yeah.
You miss out on learning.
Hindi
You miss
clear
out
yung
on, yes.
vision mo.
Ano
Oo,
ka?
hindi nagiging klaro.
The independence is there because we have to make the choice. And the choice that we have to make is either, okay, do I want to live this way or do I want to live this way? It's a choice we're given it. And that choice is at the same time, we're given that space Because every one of us are given the choice to be a model or to living a life that is meaningful and purposeful, or to be, and kasi when you deal with those meaning and purpose, it involves everybody immediately, not just yourself.
Yes. Oo.
You see, what will give you purpose? What actions do you perform? It involves actions. So, kaya, yung choice na natin gagawin. Now, if I choose to live my life in such a way that others will benefit from my being there. And then, siyempre, ang madadama mo dyan, punong-puno ka ng, ano ba, kumbaga compassion, hindi ka magkukulang sa
Overflowing love.
pakiramdam mo.
Oo.
Diba?
Yun ang nagiging
Kumbaga yung
motivation.
focus, hindi ikaw, but
And,
others.
and the choices that you will embrace brings about goodness on your part, and satisfaction and happiness on
For
the end.
all,
Kasi
also, not
happiness
just
yun eh.
you.
Kasi on the end of the day, we're pursuing happiness eh. But if there is no peace of mind, right? Peace in wherever you are, that you bring that about, and then there'll just be misery on your part. You'll just struggle in life, you know.
Yeah.
Binanggit mo yan mga sa politika, yung mga gusto rin mag-posisyon dahil malapit ng election.
Di ba ngayon, tirahan sila lahat?
Oo. Meron naman ng proverbs na from Ghana, sabi, when a king has good counselors, his reign is peaceful. O yan. In the same way, you don't need to be the king. Pwede ka rin ikaw yung counselor. You know, magbigay ng payo, na magandang payo sa mga tao. In this way, mabe-benefit din yung society.
You know, recently, I don't know if you're following the news, yeah.
Oo.
In Thailand, in many parts of the world, meron tayong drug dependence
Yes.
issue. No? Ngayon, in Thailand, it came out in the news recently, this week for that matter. They were saying, we will focus on rehabilitation.
Hindi execution.
Yeah.
Oo. Yung kumbaga, nila, tulungan yung tao.
Kasi
Yes.
there's a reason, there's an underlying factor why a person comes to this point,
Yeah, he needs help.
needs help. Eh. And tulong ang hinahanap niya, tulong ang
Yun
kailangan
ang
niya.
kailangan talaga.
So these are situations that we as a nation or as a people or individuals, we're given the choice to see things in a perspective of, wow, wag mo lang titingnan sa ganito kasi may other things na pwede kang gawin eh. There are other models that other people can deal with. If it's, nandiyan talaga yan eh, it's part eh. But there's something that's lacking in the society that we have to do something about. But it's not like we'll just end it in such a way that, kasi violence beget violence eh.
Yan nga eh. Oo.
Hindi rin peaceful yan.
Yeah, it brings more hate to others.
Yeah.
Eh. Kasi
Mas
that can be
lalong
you eh.
walang peace.
That can be you eh. That can be you. Pag may nakita kang ganyan, ako, pwedeng ako yun ah.
Yeah.
Pwedeng mangyari sa buhay ko yun eh. So, hindi, mababahala ka ngayon. So,
Yung
kaya,
mga tao naman na who are taking drugs, they've been through great traumas in their life. They're broken, into so many pieces. So the thing is to help them become whole again and become productive and have some happiness. No, that's what will resolve
the
that.
protection. Every person has been given that opportunity that is called life.
Oo.
Di ba? Buhay yan eh. So, it's not up to us. And unless, you have that guy in New Zealand who went crazy,
Ano yun eh.
yung kailangan hintuin mo yun. Huwag mo pabayaan na baka...
Ideology niya na mali, no? And it's really based on violence.
Right.
His faith is based on violence talaga. So yun ang naging action niya.
Mali
Gusto-
naman kasi ang tingin nila.
Oo.
Extremist naman kasi yun.
So gusto nating batiin muna si Rosalinda. Sabi niya, I'll always feel good to see and hear you. Thank you so much for sharing your love and wisdom. And from Iris Festin, good morning din. And Catrino Resurrection is greeting us from San Mateo, Rizal. And Erwin Carino, thank you din. And sabi ni Vina, real peace is not in power, money, or weapons, but in deep inner peace.
Yan.
Ayan, okay.
Talaga, oo.
Sabi rin ni Brinda Villamor, good morning, go palakas. Sabi niya ganon. Ngayon, meron din sinabi dito na, when a man finds no peace within himself, it is useless to look for it elsewhere.
Kasi
Paano ka-
talagang spiritual yun eh.
Paano mo hanapin yung
Sa
peace?
loob talaga
Hindi mo
yan.
talaga na-experience to mismo sa loob mo. Tapos mag-e-expect tayo. Yung iba, sa paligid natin, kailangan ganito. Pero kung pag dapat rin mag-umpisa sa sarili natin. From within our own hearts to find the peace. And we can. We can actually find peace through the process of meditation, through spirituality, through connecting with the real controller, yung talagang general manager ng universe,
Yes.
by actually recognizing and being accepting the will of the real owner and controller. Yan, no? So, meron din sinasabi naman dito na the tree of silence also bears fruits of peace. Okay? Minsan kasi masyado tayong maingay, no? Maingay yung isip, maingay yung mga sinasabi. But really, sometimes you just have to be quiet and you will also find peace by connecting, with our friend in our heart, the Lord in the heart, and then you will hear really what makes your heart more contented and fulfilled. Diba?
So you mentioned this ingay, no? That's the monkey of the mind. Eh. We need to understand that that's not who we are and that we can control that to quiet it down. Kaya nga meron methods, one of the best methods really, the best method is really learning meditation. So
And
you know
also,
how to control that monkey of the mind.
And there are also, kumbaga, again, we all are part of this. Di ba nabanggit kanina yung where you live, your choices that you do, the actions that you perform. You see, as human being, we are responsible for all the actions we do. So that's why our education is sustained, tuloy-tuloy, and it's not just limited. No? But the moment you start to self-limit most of this, and you don't capacitate yourself, okay, you don't take the opportunities to learn and learn more. Of what life is and the meaning of why we exist, the purpose of why we exist, the goal of our life, yung mga goals natin sa buhay. Kaya, ito, habang buhay mo you work that out Because dadating sa may stage ka sa buhay na maraming bagay, siyempre alam natin lahat ng bagay sa mundo na to dumadaan lang Ganun din ang buhay natin, temporary lang tayo rito. Kapag tayo naging, kumbaga nalulung tayo sa lahat ng nangyayari sa iyong kapaligiran at yun ang naging basehan ng iyong buhay, kung ano man ang success mo sa mundo na to, mismong hindi magbibigay ng saya sa iyo yan. May saya, pero limitado. Tsaka yung struggle
Not
to attain
everlasting.
that. Oo. Hindi naman ganun yung nature natin Yung nature natin, tayo eternal. Kumbaga, kumbaga you talk about life is, kumbaga, walang hangganan yan walang beginning and end. Life is always there. Yan ang nature ng life So, and that we should try to understand the life in this world is a temporary life. Right? But yet, you can make it so that it is meaningful and purposeful. Just so that you can feel that, yes, by nature, I'm eternal. And I am eternal and that I have the ability, kumbaga may talino tayo, di ba? May kaalaman tayo. At saka, syempre, pag may ganyan, mahinahon ang ating pag-iisip. Magaang ang ating loob.
Yan. So you should follow also, Ralph Waldo Emerson, sabi niya, if you are angry for 1 minute, you lose 60 seconds of peace of mind. No?
Biro mo.
So you need to control these
Yan
emotions.
Yan ang mga pampagulo sa buhay. Yung mga roller coaster ng labas-pasok at paiba-ibang mga emotions na nagdadala sa atin kung saan-saan. Parang ipo-ipo. No? Ay marami pang bumati sa atin. Si Krishna Salazar,
What
watching
a
from
beautiful
the
name she has.
It means very, very wonderful name.
Mm-mm.
Mike Rex, magandang araw. Lakbay Gulay, sabi niya, thank you very much, Go Palakas, for the wonderful wisdom you share every week. Hindi kompleto ang aming linggo pag hindi kami nakakasubaybay sa inyong show. Salamat
Ay,
po.
salamat din. Very
At least
nice.
naging peaceful rin tayo for 45 minutes. Nakikinig tayo sa mga very enlightening things para hindi maguluhan yung ating isip. No? At saka siguro naman pag malinaw ang ating pag-iisip ay maayos din ang ating pakitungo sa mga taong kasama natin, hindi ba?
Oo, importante itong ating pinag-uusapan ngayon kasi hindi naman natin nga makokontrol lahat ng nangyayari sa paligid
Oo,
natin. So,
oo.
importante, we know how to get into that quiet, peaceful space
Yes.
for us, no? So, we can
We're
retain
all
our sanity.
gifted with that.
Oo.
Meron tayong
Oo.
protection, meron tayong talagang, if we actually embrace that,
Mm-mm.
na gift. Yan nga, gift of life nga yan.
Yeah.
Hindi lang yan kamo yung, alam nyo yung minsan, kadalasan kasi ang tanaw natin sa buhay, parang, it's just me? Ako at ako lang?
Selfie.
Di ba? Kaya, pag gano'n ang tanaw mo, ay,
Magulo yan.
mahirap.
Mahirap talaga.
No man's is an
It's an
island.
island.
Okay. We live as a society, we live as a people, and we all have to learn. We are given these opportunities to have relationships, and we all have these relationships that can be based instead of dealing with negatives, but the true relationships is because we're pursuing happiness. How can we pursue those relationships that brings us pleasure? We know that relationships can be temporary.
Yeah,
but
it
where's,
can be more of a business arrangement.
right,
No?
where's the very root of that relationship? Because by nature, we're after relationships.
Oh, it has to be based on love, not
Yeah.
business, ha?
Okay. And hindi yung kumbaga, hindi ba kadalasan ang relasyon, kahit bata pa lang mama, you have to do, this is how you will deal with me. I want this, you have this. And inumpisa natin sa bata tatapusin din natin. Tandaan natin na may mga ganyang asal
Yung
na
kailangan
nangyayari.
deal pa no?
Right. Hindi
Okay,
natin,
you clean the dishes,
Kailangan
I'll
naman-
give you this. Ay,
Kailangan
naku,
naman
hindi dapat
matahimik man
ganyan.
lang sa bahay natin. Maayos, may
Yeah.
peace naman kahit sa bahay. Hindi
and
ba?
with
Tsaka be
peace,
good example kasi
Alright.
baka tinuturuan mo sa bata, wag mag-away-away.
alam mo, may isa,
Tapos mamaya nakipag-away ka sa kapitbahay.
that's why we're given what is known as every human life is a life of responsibility. When we embrace that and we teach the younger ones, the younger generation, that this is the way to live a happy life. It's a life of being conscious and responsible for all the actions that you perform. And actions that you perform, instead of just drawing it towards yourself, it's actions you perform for the betterment of everybody.
Yes.
And then the basis of that, when you act this way, it is based on acting in a very responsible way. Peace and all of this nature of being at peace and happiness is also part, being responsible is so much part of this.
Yes.
Hindi pwedeng tanggalin mo yun
Kakasama talaga.
Yeah. And
Mahabol pa ng bati si Kath Nanta. Sabi niya,
And
thank
Mary
you for
Salazar.
your program. And Mary Salazar. And I saw from the last comments from last show, si Sherry Lou, nagpasalamat. Yung mga nagpapasalamat, minsan nakaka-cut off na yung show namin. Pero thank you for your
Yes,
comments.
oo.
Nakikita pa rin namin. May mga silent watchers tayo. Pero, we wish you well. I know you're there listening to us.
And
Thank
you all have to stay safe palaging, mag-iingat tayo. Itong pandemya hindi pa tapos at I think siguro 2-3 taon pa to Minsan
That's what
sinasabi
they're
nila.
saying now, no?
Kaya maging mahinahon ang
Mahaba-haba.
ating mga loob at huwag kayong palaging pagdadasal at meditation. At ang importante, pasasalamat. Mabuhay kayong lahat.
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
remember, September is the month for peace, no, in the Philippines. So I hope that you learn the ways to be peaceful. Remember, peace begins with a smile.
Yes.
Give peace a chance.
Okay.
Sige. Salamat. Thank you.
Bye.
pangkalusugan, pangkalikasan, kung pa